The supervisors. Former Chairman De La Cruz, you ran a terrific meetings in 2017. You had some very tough issues with cannabis, with transportation. We had a natural disaster that your leadership was invaluable to the whole county, and we really appreciate everything that you've done. One of the things, though, is that I'm a little bit upset about is presenting this plaque to you in the fact that it's another plaque of chairmanship when you should have brought in your old plaque and we could have just changed the date or added on a date and saved us all $25. But maybe I'll do that with my plaque next year. And but on behalf of everybody at the county and the board especially, thank you very much for your service and dedication.
Mr. Chair, if I indulge me a couple of minutes, I'd like to thank the board and the community for allowing me to be the chair in 2017. It was very contagious at times, and I, as a chair, learned a lot from the public and from fellow board members. Thank you for the education. I guess the theme of 2017 was consensus and how to work together, and that was a good benchmark and a good opportunity to test those words and skills. And I learned a lot. I learned to be patient. I learned to listen to the public, and I learned that to get things together and get things done was about compromising and working together. And I'll definitely take those words, and I'll make sure that our next year, Chairman Mr. Jerry Munzers, make sure we ask you for your plaque, and we'll start the process with yours. Thank you.
Fine. Thank you. Thank you. All right. We'll move on to public comment. This is the opportunity for the public to address the board.
You have the committee assignments.
Oh, man, we need new retraining. It's been a while since we've had... what are you talking about? Oh,
Committee assignments.
What? Oh, geez, that's right. Oh, gosh.
No committee appointments.
Yeah, I stepped way ahead of myself. It doesn't have a number or a letter. I lose track. Okay, this is to receive the committee appointments from the newly elected chair of the Board of Supervisors. I have the committee appointments in the back as well for the public if you would like to take a look at them. And my colleagues on the board here have their assignments. I won't go through each and every one of them unless it's necessary. I don't, County Council, do I have to read them all? I didn't think so. Anyway, but I certainly want to entertain any comments or concerns from my colleagues on the board with their assignments. I tried to appoint continuity and eliminate some of the committees that were somewhat inactive and consolidate some of the committees. And also try to accommodate the times that were available. Some of the members of this board have day jobs, and I tried to take that into account. The consolidation of the committees, the landfill committee, the integrated waste committee, and there was one other one that seemed like it was about the same thing. I tried to put that together. That's right. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the rationale that I use to move forward with the committee assignments. Any comments or concerns? If not, any comments from the public? Not seeing any. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of board appointments.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Thank you. Now we can move on to public comment. With items that are to address the board on that is of interest not appearing on today's agenda. No action may be taken unless provided by Government Code Section 5495.4.2. Your comments, please keep them to 3 minutes. Is there anybody that would like?
Richmond?
Happy New Year. Marty Richmond from Hollister. The departing chairman, Dela Cruz, mentioned, I think he wanted to say that during his term, some of the items were contentious. He said they were contagious. Perhaps he really meant contagious and didn't mean contentious. I hope not, because everybody's getting sick in California, so I hope it's not contagious.
I'm going to open up my packet.
I thought I would start your new year off with one of my little reports about budget items in the state. If you've been following the story in all the newspapers, reputable newspapers, that the 119-mile portion of the bullet train going through the valley was budgeted for $6 billion. And now it is up to $10.6 billion. So the budget has gone up $4.6 billion, which would give 460 cities $10 million apiece to do whatever they wanted with, if they gave you that money instead of wasting it on the bullet train, which now is up to $89 million a mile and counting. And this is to the cheap and easy portion of the bullet train that they built first just to show they could do it. And they built it, or they're building it, and they're showing they can't do it. So they've got this enormous budget overrun. The second budget item I want to bring up, I'm sure that Supervisor Rivas, who was announced for the Assembly, is going to be interested in this. Our former senator, Mr. Canelo, he's going to retire. I don't know if he's officially retired yet. Sold his vote on SB1 for $500 million for his district. I'm sure since he represented us, we got a big piece of that. I haven't been able to find it yet. I've been looking around. So if someone knows, I know we can't go into some big discussion, but if someone knows which piece of the $500 million he got for train to go through his county. Since he represented us, I'm sure he got us a piece, but perhaps it was too much paperwork. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Richmond. Anybody else from the public?
I have no other speakers.
Anybody would like to address the Board of Supervisors before I close the public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to department head announcements.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do have an announcement from our elections office. We have Joe Paul Gonzalez here.
Good morning, Chair, Board of Supervisors. Today, I'd like to have my assistant clerk recorder, Angela Curl, talk to you about the 2018 statewide direct primary. Some of the things that we're doing in the office and on the website that Mike Parsons, our information technology deputy, has done with that website to assist you as candidates and to assist the public as well. So I'm gonna find that right now and then let Angela go on with the presentation.
No, Chrome. Should be the Chrome one. Here, so close this. And let's go to Chrome. Okay. Good morning. Several of you already probably have seen this, but we're trying to make it more public. Our website right now has been enhanced, and I do have to thank Mike Parsons. Without him, this level of technology would not be possible in our department. He is instrumental in modernizing us. Many of our functions now are all done electronically. You actually come into our office and work off a computer at our counter, and then it interacts into our database automatically. It's reducing errors, it's more efficient, and it's allowing us to have information available on our website instantaneously, which is really great. Anyhow, some of the things we want to point out on our website is we do have a new For the Voter section. Basically, it's information for all the voters and the public about if you're registered to vote, what district do you live in, basic information. For the candidates, this is the key area that we want to kind of point out to you. For the candidates, we have a scheduling appointment module where you can actually go into the scheduling appointment and then drop down what you'd like to meet with us about. And because we're short-staffed, having people not know if our staff is available is very frustrating because you have to sometimes stand in line. With this module, it allows us to schedule appointments and people are never waiting to be helped. So you can actually schedule an appointment for consultation. You can do it for your signatures in lieu of a filing fee, your declaration of candidacy, or if you just want to talk to us about stuff. We've had several candidates that have utilized it. It's been very successful, so we wanted to let everyone know. If someone is interested in running for office and all you want to do is educate yourself about the process, you do a consultation and we'd be available to tell you and answer any of your questions. Also, we have available on here information for the candidates. We have our candidate handbook, which is a detailed handbook that's interactive. When you go into it, all of the table of contents are hyperlinked to the sections. So you don't have to stream through to find the information. You can just hyperlink directly to it. Additionally, our candidate calendar is very detailed, and it gives you information about all the deadlines. So one of the things we have is an overview of the nomination process. This is I'm going to hyperlink to it right now. It gives you an overview of what you need to do and what the processes are, what some of the fees are, and then what offices are up for election. And I'm trying to get to my little, I'm going to go back up. Sorry. Oh, there I go. There is also a checkoff list calendar. This is a shortened version of the detailed calendar in the candidate guide. It gives the deadline dates of signatures in lieu, which opened on December 15th and closed on February 7th. This is an optional period where candidates can circulate petitions in lieu of paying the filing fee. So each valid signature reduces how much they have to pay. We do have judicial offices that are up for election this year. That does have a different filing requirement than any other office. That is from January 29th to February 7th. The declaration of intent period is mandatory. If that period is not done, you cannot file during the declaration of candidacy. The declaration of candidacy period is also known as the nomination period. That's from February 12th to March 9th. Now, if incumbents fail to file, there is an extension for 5 calendar days. We do not announce any of these extensions until after 5 o'clock, the close of nominations. You can see on our website any office that extends if the incumbent fails to file. A lot of people call us and say, do you know if? We don't know if anyone's filing until after that deadline. I think... some of the other things you can see on our website is you can also see candidates that have actually filed information or taken out papers for the office that they're interested in. Right now, the information that's available is, I'm just trying to get to a handbook appointment. List of candidates. In this section, what this is showing you is it's showing you candidates' names that have taken out papers for signature in lieu. When you see the yellow section, that is saying that, yes, they have been issued papers. Or if they have filed a specific form, it will have that information shown also. At the end, each office will have the candidate's name, and to the right of it, it will have a very large qualified statement. Right now, no one's qualified. This is just the very, very very beginning. After March 9th is when you'll start to see all of the candidates' information being qualified. All this information is available to hyperlink to the financials of the campaigns. It also allows you to have contact information for your candidates. So each candidate that is running for office has either a website, an email, a phone number, an address where you can reach out to them and ask questions. Okay?
Why don't you point out where the qualifications for each office?
Yeah. Okay. Joe Paul is pointing out a very good thing. In the For the Candidates section, we have qualifications for candidacy. All of our countywide offices are up for re-election, and every one of them has a requirement for qualifications when they're countywide. This is an example of Joe Paul's requirements for his office, which he has come in and taken out his SIGs in lieu, and we provide him with the qualification page. Every candidate that comes in to inquire on these, we actually provide that information right up front. Additionally, we've added some things about other offices. So if you have a jurisdiction that you're running for, so let's say it's a supervisorial district, possibly District 3. If you're running for District 3 Board of Supervisors, we do have interactive maps where you can actually look up that district and see what the boundaries are. It allows you to see if you live in the district and if you actually are registered to vote in that area. Okay. If you ever have questions about your current registration, you can always call our office. We can give all that information available over the phone, too. Anything else? I think I covered it all. Also, always follow us at SBC Vote on Twitter. We try to tweet out as much as possible. We do have a following. It has improved. We've had a 90% interaction with our new website announcements, which has been really great because they've gotten them from our Twitter account. So if you have questions and you want to see what we're doing and what we're announcing, follow us on Twitter and you'll have all the latest information. Okay? Any questions?
Great. Any questions from the board? Great. Thank you. Very good. Thank you very much for an excellent presentation from the elections
I'd like
office.
to, again, Chair, recognize Mike Parsons, because without him, we would not have that functionality. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we also have another announcement out of our county council's office. We have Barbara Thompson, our county council here.
Board, I just wanted to introduce Sean Collins to the board. He's our new deputy county council. He started on January 8th. He comes to us from Del Norte County, where he served as the deputy county council, and he's a graduate from Gonzaga Law School. So I just wanted to introduce him because he'll be interacting with the board, and he's going to be taking over, in addition to a variety of departments, he's going to be representing Public Works and also LAFCO.
Great. Welcome.
Morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
You'll like your time out there at Public Works.
Oh, I think so. I was on the Health and Human Services side of things before, so
Great.
I'm kind of looking forward to moving into some different areas of the law.
I'm sure the whole board is looking forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all the announcements, Mr. Chair.
Great. We'll move on to board announcements. Supervisor Medina, you have anything interesting?
No, the only question I have, it's more of a question for probably one of the other supervisors, is the fire study status. Just wanted to hear a conclusion of what happened and what the results were.
Right.
That's my only question.
Okay. I think we'll cover it. Supervisor Munzer or I will cover it when we make our board announcements. Supervisor De La Cruz?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm looking at the committee assignments, and I see that Supervisor Rivas will now become the member of CSAC, and I'm actually more than happy and willing to assist him in any which way I can, as I was the member of CSAC last year, and I actually contacted Mr. Rivas earlier this month if there was going to be a special meeting to discuss SB1, and Mr. Rivas informed me to go ahead and attend. And what I did, instead of going up to Sacramento and being there for 1 hour, I decided just to do a telephone conference here at the office, and thank God for the telephones. Thank you, Supervisor Rivas. Actually, that 1 hour was very educational because it was actually about SB1, and CSAC asked all the counties to show a letter of how can I say it? A letter of support of opposition to SB1. all the counties in the state of California voted, for the exception of 4 counties. 2 counties were against it, and 2 other counties abstained from showing support. Talking to the board members, and then the discussion we had among the public and here at the forum, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Chair and fellow supervisors, I voted to support the opposition to SB 1 because it is important if SB 1 is repealed. We're talking a lot of issues that could happen, such as canceling some of the transportation programs, the potential to lay off staff, and if it ever happens, if it does happen, if the repeal of SB 1 does occur, then in the future, to pass any type of transportation measure will require 2/3 of the California legislators and then majority vote of the voters, which is almost impossible to pass. And so that, for those reasons, I felt that it was very important that we continue the funding mechanism. And I know Mr. Marty Richmond and the public felt that we got the short end of that deal. And I expressed that, and I said, look, there are members in the community that actually felt that we got the short end of the stick, and I'm going to express it on their behalf right now. And I had the entire 52 counties listening to me on the phone. And so at least I gave the opposition how San Benito County felt about it. But at the same time, I'm not going to bite the hand that's going to feed us. I am a true believer that the state of California is no friend of San Benito County, and I hope that once Mr. Rivas is up there, he will definitely come and visit, and that channel of communications will continue to grow moving forward. And so that's what I have to report on, Mr. Chair. The other item, I also attended with the assistance of Supervisor Munzers. We attended the Monterey Bay Community Powers, and it's moving forward. It's actually exciting. In fact, I see Andy, who was out there too. Thank you for showing up, Andy. It was very exciting because we're going to start seeing rate reductions to our members of our community, and I think that's the most important thing. And at the same time, there is a commitment, because when Mr. Bruce McPherson was here and the rest of the members lobbying for us to join that group, that they were going to give back to the community in terms of funding for alternative programs, alternative energy programs, programs that can benefit the community, such as partnerships, hiring kids in our community, education, working with the unions, working with members of the community that can provide benefit back to the community. So it's moving forward. We're hoping sometime in late 2018, Ray, when we start seeing the benefit of it. For right now, we're still in the beginning stages. And in fact, we are outflowing cash instead of bringing in cash. And soon we will start having revenues come into our community. So it's just a matter of time before we start seeing those revenues. I'd like to thank Supervisor Munzes for being there, Jerry, about 5 hours throughout the whole session. And I think it's educating, and there's more information to come. Mr. Chair, also with you, we attended COG. Mm-hmm. And one of the items of discussion was to bring a sales tax to the community for our transportation, local roads and repairs for our community. State of California is not going to give us the money to fix our roads, so we got to do it ourselves, folks. Either we're do it together or we don't do it at all. And the COG decided to have a special study session on February 3rd at 1 o'clock here at the Chamber's meeting. So if anybody wishes to attend the meeting, we welcome the public to come, and we want to hear your input, because it's not about us. It's about you, the members of the community, who need to push the sales tax to fix our roads. And if we don't do this, the state of California is not going to come and help us out. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Very good report, Supervisor De La Cruz. Thank you for bringing up the special meeting on February 3rd. Supervisor Rivas.
I have no announcement. Just wanted to wish everybody a Happy New Year and look forward to your leadership, Supervisor Patella.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Supervisor Munzer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too want to wish everybody a Happy New Year, since this is our first meeting of this year. I too look forward to working with you on the many issues that are facing the county this coming year. As far as Supervisor Medina's request on the fire committee, a report was given of the by the consultant on the consolidation into either a JPA or a fire district at our special meeting a couple of weeks ago. And I'm hearing that the firm that gave the report and did the report
is not happy with what was given, and they're going to be rewriting it. And towards the end of this month, I believe we would receive another report from them.
Anthony?
So
Supervisor Medina.
They're not happy with the report they gave? They gave it to us and they're not happy with it?
that is correct.
Yeah. I don't know if
That doesn't
Mr.
sound-
O'Neill would like to come up and elaborate on that report, because it is a report that we spent money on.
That's what I'm saying.
And it was, the consultants that worked on it had to kind of revamp it a couple of different times before submitting it to the committee for review, and it ended up not being entirely accurate, that even the leadership of the consulting firm wasn't pleased. So, Mr. O'Neill, can you elaborate?
Yeah, I'll do my best. Excuse me. So basically what happened is this was a pretty bumpy road getting this study done. Quite a few delays, quite a few setbacks. And what ultimately this came down to was a project manager from the firm who was, this was his first project. He gave the presentation at the last Fire Protection Committee meeting, and to put it bluntly, he didn't do a very good job. We raised these concerns. I raised these concerns with him, and it ended up getting bumped up the food chain in their company. I actually spoke to the CEO, who did a review of the plan, and he couldn't stop apologizing. He was embarrassed by it and has committed to making it right. The project manager, due to the lack of substance in the plan and the quality of the final project, has been let go from the firm, and they have full-time staff members now working on this and pretty much working full-time to get this done by the end of February is when we're looking at it. So a 1-month turnaround to essentially rewrite the whole plan. And I understand it's frustrating, but I'm actually really optimistic now that we'll get something that will be usable, because frankly it wasn't what we had. And for an example, the consultant during the presentation pointed to a bar graph that showed a decline in the number of calls for service in 2016. And he said he was asked by, I believe it was Mayor Ignacio, why was there a decline? And he said, that was just an error in the data, and that's probably not an accurate statistic. Well, what wasn't accurate is what he said. The call volume changes from year to year, and that was just a lower year. So the guy that wrote the study didn't even know what the study was, and he's making recommendations based on numbers that he perceived to be inaccurate. So, like I said, he is no longer involved in the project, and we're looking forward to getting something in the coming weeks that I think all 3 jurisdictions can use and to improve fire protection services.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Neill. Anything more to add?
If I still have the floor. So it was a recommendation of the ad hoc fire committee or fire protection committee that we have a joint 3-agency meeting. And I believe we're going to be trying to do that towards the end of February, where all 3 agencies of 15 members will hear the report together.
Okay. Anything else to add? All right, good. Does that conclude your report?
Yes.
Supervisor
Yes.
Munson? Okay. Myself, I went to the RCRC meeting, and 3 items that I came home with. The first was, we received, the RCRC committee received a presentation from iFoster, and I mentioned this at the last meeting, where some of our foster kids could qualify for a laptop, between the ages of 16 and 21. And this is just a tool to help them excel a little bit better in school, possibly look for jobs. And it's a great program that RCRC contributed a significant amount of money to iFoster. And I brought back with me the steps that we need to take to see if we have anybody in our county that would qualify for this. And I'll make sure this gets to the CAO, who could pass it on to Health and Human Services. The other decision that we made, we received a report from let's see if I can find it. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong thing. For the Water Supply and Water Quality Act of 2018. And this act is under signatures in the state of California. RCRC took a presentation from Gerald Muir, and he's a water expert in California. Pretty much all the other county supervisors knew this guy personally. And what this bond does is expand water supply throughout the entire state, and we ended up taking a supportive action to support this bond. And usually RCRC doesn't really like to kind of step out on big bonds like this, but water is still going to be critical for our future economic growth, and we felt very strongly we should support that. And then the third thing, which I'm really excited about, a supervisor from Colusa County, which I develop a friendship with over the years, going to these meetings, was appointed to be director of USDA for the state of California. And there's a ton of programs out there that I think could possibly bring some money to San Bernardino County and provide some needs. So I hope we could direct staff to arrange a meeting with former supervisor or director Van Dam to come down in San Bernardino County, get department heads together, maybe another supervisor, and see what we could do to get some federal money here. So it's an opportunity that she made clear to all the supervisors at RCRC that she has her roots in rural California, and she could do a lot of good for us. We might as well take advantage while somebody's there that we know personally. So that's pretty much concludes my report. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Anybody want to pull any of the items? Seeing none from the board, anyone from the public would like to pull any of the consent agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve consent agenda.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none. It passed. Move on to the Finance Corporation. We'll adjourn as the Board of Supervisors and reconvene as the Board of Directors of the San Bernardino County Financing Corporation. Can I have an acknowledgement of certificate of posting?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Can I have a certificate of public comment? Anyone from the public would like to comment? Seeing none, we'll move to the consent agenda. Motion to approve.
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. We'll move on to the regular agenda, appointment of officers for the 2018 President, Vice President, and Secretary Treasurer.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we appoint Chairman Patello and Vice Chair Munzers to President and Vice President, respectively.
Second.
I have a second, and I assume with the motion, the Secretary Treasurer would be our Treasurer, Mary Lou Andrade?
Correct.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn as the Board of Directors of San Benito County Finance Corporation, and we'll reconvene as Board of Supervisors.
So move.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Great. We'll move on to reconvene as Board of Supervisors. And item 38, public hearing, county clerk and auditor elections. Paul Gonzalez. Well, I have them. Yeah, I know. It seems like I don't. Should put them on.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Board of Supervisors, this item concerns a fee request for the Recorder's Office. This is a fee that we are requesting concerning electronic recording. It's a statutory fee that requires the board to concur and to allow the recorder to collect the $1 fee.
Okay. All right. Any questions from the board?
Yes, Mr. Chair, don't we have that already in place, Joe?
No,
We don't?
no. The fee is this authorizes the fee to be collected. It's an additional $1.
Okay.
In essence, this kind of replaces. We had a fee that it was called the redaction fee for Social Security truncation. That ended December 31st, and the office wants to start the process of procuring software where we can actually accept electronic recordings. This is pretty common in many counties now, and we want to get up to speed to be able to do that. And this $1 provides us the funding to be able to buy the software and implement it.
Mr. Chair, just a quick question, Joe. Would this make for the business community become more efficient? Would it provide a value to the public?
Absolutely. Currently there are couriers that bring in the physical paper to record. Electronic recording is everything's done electronically, and so it helps these title companies from having to be present to be able to record documents. So people that have need to record today kind of thing, the electronic recording provides that quicker service, quicker turnaround.
Great. Any other questions from the board? Seeing none, I'll open up the public hearing. Anybody from the public would like to comment on this item? I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for discussion or a motion.
Mr. Chair, make a motion that we waive the reading, accept the introduction, and adopt ordinance amending ordinance 5.01 of the San Benito County Code relating to county fees.
And I'm going to read the title of the ordinance for the record. An ordinance of the Board of Supervisors of the County of San Benito amending Chapter 5.01 of the San Benito County Code relating to county fees.
Second.
Yes, the motion's acceptable.
That's acceptable to the maker of the motion?
Yes.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Oppose? Hearing none. Thank you, Joe Paul.
Thank you very much.
Move on to the regular agenda. CEO Espinosa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, this particular item is an item that this board has contemplated for quite a few years, I think even before me coming on board as a CAO, about looking at reducing our carbon footprint that we're actually putting out within the county offices itself, and looking at ways to cut costs with some items, lighting, actually getting better systems in place, as well as potentially bringing in some solar panels. So with that being said, we've talked about this, I think, during our board retreats since I've been on board, and about this last year. We've talked to Ashu. He's with Optera Energy Services to come on board and look at what we could do here in our county. And we brought this item back to your board, I don't know, a few months ago, probably 6 months ago or so. And since then, their office, along with staff here at the county, have been working on a solution and kind of what we could do here in our county. So today we have kind of that study that we'd like to present to you, the work that's been done. So we have Ashu here, Jane, to go ahead and just give you a quick presentation. I believe he's passed out through the clerk a booklet that I believe you have in front of you. Feel free to look at that as well through the presentation. So, Ashu?
Thank you, Mr. Espinoza. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, staff. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to present our findings. Before I begin, I would like to introduce two members of our company who've actually been who've put the bulk of this proposal together. I have with me Isabel Jasils, who's our project manager, and Jake Rada, who's our project engineer. So I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. Please feel free to interrupt me at any time with questions. As Mr. Espinoza mentioned, back in middle of last year, your board authorized Optera Energy Services to work with staff and see what can be done as far as upgrading your infrastructure and bringing renewable energy to the county. I just want to make a quick comment about the name on the presentation that I handed out today is NG Services. Actually, our name changed yesterday from Optera Energy Services to NG Services. A few years ago, we were owned by Chevron, and now we are, for the last couple of years, we are owned by this company called NG. And it's taken a couple of years for us to, rebrand and all that. So we are now part of NG. It's a very large company, in some respects even bigger than Chevron. We have 155,000 employees, and we have a major footprint in the United States. We are a European-based company. Not going to take a lot of your time going through all these slides, but I'm trying to see how I move forward. This might do it.
You can do it now.
Or up, down, arrow. Okay.
Down arrow.
Thanks. So this is just some information about our company, and we've done a lot of work with California counties, and I'm going to skip through all the through the case histories. If you wanted to. If you want to look at that, they're included in the presentation. But this is information that I presented to you before, back in the middle of last year when I was here. So I'm going to skip to the slide which gives the program scope, slide 13. And so what we're basically looking at is a lot of solar energy. We're upgrading your lighting at most of the buildings. And upgrading the HVAC at a lot of the buildings, and there's some other miscellaneous scope of work. So, over the last 6 months, we've been working diligently with your staff, RMA Director, Mr. Gordon, Mr. Goldstone, Mr. Valdez, and of course, CAO Espinoza. And this is the result of, their input, and our staff's recommendations. So we're recommending LED lighting, indoor and outdoor, at all the county buildings. And LED lighting has, some very nice benefits. It's better quality lighting. And better quality lighting, as well as it cuts down the electricity used by around 50% from over what you have. Is there a question?
No.
Supervisor? Okay. So that's and it's virtually maintenance free. So those are the three big things. It's longer lasting, 50% savings over what you have right now, and virtually maintenance-free. We're going to do outdoor lighting too. Outdoor lighting outside the buildings, we're going to upgrade it to LED. Or we are recommending that. There are certain streetlights I think it's in one particular neighborhood that we are converting to. We are recommending that you should convert those to LED. I think the rest of the streetlights are already converted by PG&E to LED. I think that's correct. One of the major parts of this proposal is actually replacing your HVAC systems, which in some cases are 50 and 60 years old. I mean, a typical life of an HVAC system is around 20 years. So your staff has done a marvelous job of keeping the HVAC going, but there is a limit to what they can do. So we are recommending a replacement of a lot of the HVAC systems. So you can see the different buildings and our recommendations. Even for this building, I think we're recommending replacing all the package units on the top. Juvenile Hall, Hall of Records, and I think I might have a slide on this. So the library needs a new system, and that's actually, I think it was budgeted. The way this project can work is it'll be funded out of savings, so the budget that you have could be allocated for some other work. Hall of Records, I think a few years ago you replaced the mechanical equipment, but the temperature inside is still not comfortable because even though the mechanical unit itself has been upgraded, the air distribution system is still old and still uncomfortable, so we're going to go in and change the air distribution system and make it work better. The energy management system for all the county units, that will allow your staff to access, if there's any call for complaint, they can access the air conditioning unit from any internet-based device like cell phone or a computer, and they can access it, they can diagnose it, they can remotely change set points, so it allows them a lot of flexibility. So it makes them more efficient and actually makes the air conditioning unit more efficient because you can, you can schedule air conditioning, so it'll save a lot of operating hours for the air conditioning. One of the biggest recommendations that we have here is, of course, installing solar energy at various county buildings, and I'm going to take you through, that gives an overall view of what we are proposing, but let me take you through each one of them. At the existing jail, we have a solar project, that's a solar array laid out, and it's it's 518 kilowatts, and we worked with your staff and your consultants for the new jail to design the solar project not only for the existing jail but also the proposed extension. So this 518 kilowatt solar system will not only avoid the electricity used at the existing jail but the new jail too. Go ahead, sir.
If I could ask a question here.
Yes, sir.
Look at where the design of the solar panels are. Was there a reason why you didn't put it over there in the parking lot as well, or?
Well, two reasons. One, we needed ground mount solar is financially very attractive. It produces around 20% more energy than shade structures, and it actually costs 20% less. So that was the primary reason, and the parking wasn't sufficient, so we would have had to put it on the ground anyway. Mm-hmm. So if that's and there's it's up to the board. If you want us to include cover the parking and then put the balance on the ground, we can consider that. So it's entirely up to the board and staff if you want to change any of the scope of work here, and we can definitely change it to parking as well as ground mount arrays.
That's good rationale. 20% savings and
less cost and more savings.
I could live with that.
what you see in this is part of the same. This is for juvenile hall. We just showed it separately. It's the missing. It's the missing piece here that's actually will feed the juvenile hall. It'll be a separate system, but it'll look like a complete array. We just showed it separately. So we do have a lot of parking canopies included in the project, and I just wanted to show you some pictures of our existing. Canopies do look good, and they provide shade, so that's great. The picture on the top left is Fresno State. We did that project around 10 years ago, and so as you can see, shade structures do look good. So our next recommendation on the solar is for the RMA agency building in the sheriff's office, and these are again shade parking canopies. And this has been, this was the most we could install at that building in terms of space. We were restricted by space. Usually the way we design solar project, we try to maximize it. We first see how much efficiency can be done. If we reduce the load by efficiency, and then we size the solar. I think for the RMA building, there was just not enough space to install more solar. So the buildings here that are shown are the Hall of Records and the library, but actually the way the system sizes worked, we actually are installing these systems at the library and the Hall of Records, but they're going to be actually feeding the administration building, the probation, DA, and the 911 building. So it's just the way the sizes worked out. It was easier to locate the solar at these buildings and the roof of these buildings and feed connected to the meter that's at the probation building. Next we have, so the library and the Hall of Records will be fed by these arrays. So there's a meter at the library or at the library that'll be which feeds both the library and the Hall of Records, and these shade canopies will be providing electricity to those two buildings. The Health and Human Services Agency and Behavioral Health. That's 338 kilowatts. That's a very attractive project financially, putting solar on the roof and those two shade canopies. We are pretty much going to avoid, between that and lighting at that building, pretty much going to avoid 90 to 95% of the electricity used at that building. So,
Mr. Chair, real quick question.
Yes, sir. Cruz.
For Ray,
Yeah.
are we leasing those?
Yeah, that's true. So we've been in conversation with Sonny. He's actually the director for the CSDC, and we'd have to go into an MOU of some agreement with them and work out a payback by them for the usage in that and the remaining part of the offices. So we're going to sit down with the team and look at that a little closer. I've actually met with him a few times, Ashu and I. But yes, we will. We'll have to go through that process. And if the board wants us to continue with this, this is a really, I think, a good point, an advantageous point for us to move forward with, because there is so much PG&E usage out there in that office. So, but in that case, this is something we would have to go to the next stage, is the finance part and the agreements and that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I just don't like the fact that I don't know who it is, but I know a couple of years ago when we were really having a real hot weather back then. There were some of our county employees that were just not happy about the environment that they were working in. That's not right. We should not allow our employees to work in a bad environment.
Well, I can tell you, Mr. Chair, if I may, that I've been called in even during the breaks of the holiday closures. So there's been a few offices that have actually come into work, and the actual heating systems actually failed. I think it was in the elections office, I believe it was, and we had staff coming in with their parkas and gloves, and you could basically hang beef in there, and it'd be fine. So we can't. Yeah, that's why we're coming to you right now. We're looking at the overall county and kind of the needs that we need to address, and that's one of them, is definitely the heating and the cooling is one key point. I think I wanted to add one other further comment with that. I mean, just with regards to Health and Human Services, we would have to, again, do some more legwork. But there was some concerns before in the past with the electricity and the usage of it, and I think this is something that we would, definitely be able to address during that time as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Go ahead, continue with your presentation.
County yard, there's a small array, 50 kilowatts, that takes care of the entire load at the county yard. We will have, you already have a car charging station at this building, and we're going to add 2 more ports because there seems to be a heavy demand for that, car chargers. At the RMA and Sheriff's Building, we're recommending the temperature is a problem there during the summertime, so we're recommending window films on the west side and awnings on the south side of the building. So that'll make the buildings much more comfortable. I think that's the scope of work. If you have any questions on the scope, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions from the board?
Okay, thank you. At this point, before I jump into the financial analysis, I'd like to invite Russell sorry, I got confused between her names. She just changed her last name, which threw me off. I apologize. Elizabeth Bertrand. She's with the AMBAG Energy Watch, Association of Monterey Bay Area Governments, and she'd like to just comment for a minute.
Great, thank you. Yeah, that was kind of one of my questions was the connection with AMBAG and their energy programs.
Good morning, members of the Board of Supervisors. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. And I first just want to commend you on your leadership on undertaking this effort to see how you can improve energy use. I want to say we've been working together since you began this process. So in the financials that you'll see, ASHU has worked with our team to make sure that for all of the lighting retrofits, you'll be receiving the AMBAG Energy Watch rebates, approximately $40,000. And I do want to point out that when we first started the AMBAG Energy Watch program in 2006 through 2008, that first cycle, that was when we were able to, at no cost, retrofit all of the lights, all of these interior lights in the building. And then with your ARA funding in 2009, we were able to write your ARA proposals and do some of the outside lights and the work that was done on that one HVAC unit. So I do want to point out, since the lights haven't been done since 2008, you have definitely gotten the value of these LEDs, of these T8 technology. So it is a good time to replace it to LEDs. And as Ashu pointed out, you'll be saving 50% of your energy costs. So it's tremendous. I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Thank you very much. Yeah, I know we've done pretty extensive work with AMBAG and tried to take advantage of their energy programs and over the years, and so it's good, real good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So let me take a minute or two to go through this financial analysis. It gets, it's actually looks very complicated. It really isn't. The project cost as it stands right now, and we still have to work with staff and finalize a couple of details, but it's around $8 million. We've been working with your financial advisor to come up with, this will be a lease, tax-exempt lease purchase. And so the financial advisor thinks that you can finance this project over 20 years at 3.92%. Interest rates, unfortunately, have jumped just this month. It's a 20-year financing. It has 1 year of construction and 19 years of repayment. That's why you see 19 years mentioned there. We've made certain other assumptions, 3.5% escalation of electricity cost, 3% of O&M cost. So one thing I'd like to point out is that out of the $8 million project cost, the lighting part actually will be funded through what's called on-bill financing at 0% interest. And that's around 1.2 million. That's the most we could, based on the savings, that's the most we could get funding. So that's 1.2 million approximately that will actually be done through the AMBAG Energy Watch. And that'll be done at 0% interest. And it has to be repaid over 10 years. The balance 6.8 will be financed. So first year savings are around 500,000. There are some O&M savings, operation and maintenance savings, because you're not going to be having to replace lamps and ballasts and older air conditioning units, and this has been run through your staff. The approximate incentives of $39,000 from AMBAG. So that's the total project savings. The lease payment, that's based on the 3.92% interest rate, that actually still needs to be finalized. If your board is interested in sort of going to the next step, we would work with your staff and ask your financial advisor to call for proposals. I'm guessing it'll take another 3 to 4 weeks to finalize all that. And the financing is done by the financial advisor. We have no personal interest in that. That's a direct contract between the county and the financing company. So there's some other, there's the lease payment for the on-bill financing, and there are, we guarantee the savings, so there's some measurement and verification cost. We completely maintain the solar project. Your staff doesn't have to do anything at all. And so that's the total project. If you sum all those costs, that's the total program cost in the next column. So the net savings that we are projecting are around $152,000 in the first year, and then after the lease is paid off, then of course the savings jump. So the solar panels are guaranteed for 25 years, and their life is 30 years. That's why we projected the cash flow for 30 years. For HVAC and lighting, we've only projected it for 20 years, which is the life of the HVAC and lighting. So, overall, this project, you're taking care of all your infrastructure improvements. The HVAC is something that you need to take care of anyway, so it's funded through this project. That's around over $1.5 million worth of work that's funded through this project. You don't have to come up with that with your own, from your own budget. So that's. Not only are you, there's a net savings of $150,000, you're actually avoiding, a substantial amount of money that you would otherwise have to spend on the HVAC systems, and that needs to be spent. So overall, project savings are $14 million over the life of the project. So just summarizing the benefits, this saves 80% of the electricity cost in all your buildings. $14 million in savings. The more you save, the less you're dependent on PG&E's, escalation of electricity. So that's why it's a hedge. And we do a great job of working with local contractors and supply houses. And, if your board finally approves the contract, we will reach out to the local contractor community and see how we can involve them in this project. And of course, there are substantial environmental benefits in doing this project, equivalent to removing 450 cars off the highways annually. Final slide, the next, if your board is interested in moving forward, we'll engage the financial advisor and work with the financial advisor on the financing, work with staff to finalize everything, and hopefully bring it back in 4 to 6 weeks for your consideration. And it'll take us a year to install the project after that. Mm-hmm. That's the end of the presentation. We'll be happy to take any questions.
Any questions from the board?
I do, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor De La Cruz.
Thank you. Have you taken in, I guess my first question before I ask the second one.
Yeah.
What's the average lifespan of these solar panels?
30 years.
30 years?
Yeah.
30 years.
They're guaranteed for 25.
Because through the board's prior relationships, we always, 20 years, and then the rate of return just drops.
No, so if you see, let me see if I pointed that out. If you see that there's an annual solar panel degradation of 0.5%, which is factored into our calculations. So every year we are degrading, the panels do degrade, and we guarantee that it won't exceed that. And that's already included in the calculations, in the savings.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Supervisor Munzler?
Ray, have PVS, actually PV2 and then PVS inherited, they promised us some monies for solar installation. Do you, how much that was, and have we received it?
I believe it was
$50,000.
Then
Yeah.
I believe in the most recent
Yes.
amended development agreement, you can use it for any purpose.
Yeah.
And that include, the 50,000 included the abandonment of that road?
That does not include that, which I believe was another 15,000,
10 or
perhaps.
15,000. So have we received that money?
We received, I believe, the $2.5 million that we, through our DA agreement. That was actually wired like last week, I believe it was. We have a follow-up call with them on the remaining development agreement items and the original agreement items that we worked on the last few.
I know that's not a lot when you're looking at $8 million,
No, but still we could
something.
still, yeah.
You know, I just
something.
Yeah,
it is something.
Right, that's correct.
So, all right.
Okay, thank you. With no further questions, I'll open it up to the public. Any public comment?
Marty Richmond from Hollister. I have two questions. I'll take the answers at my seat. The question I have for the presenter, one is whether they've factored in, if these are farm procured panels, whether they've factored in the new 20% tax that's going to go into effect, or maybe went into effect yesterday, for imported solar panels, excise tax. That's one question. The second question is on the solar installation. Is it set up to feed the PG&E lines and then take energy back in replacement? Or is it set up so it can also be used for an emergency energy source in the event we have, I think I've heard that this is an earthquake area. Someone told me that once. And I was wondering if we could set this up so that in the event we have a regional problem with energy because of an earthquake, that we can switch it and feed directly into our most vital county services for the public. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Shu, we'll wait till after public comment to answer those questions, and but we'll answer them. Very good questions, though. Thank you, Mr. Richmond. Anyone else from public? If not, then we'll answer Mr. Richmond's questions.
Yes, sir. So the second question first. These projects solar projects are net metered, meaning this constantly are supplying electricity when the building needs it, and if it doesn't need it, it goes to PG&E, and you get a credit based on the current rate at that time. Solar projects cannot be used for backup power. It's not a good source. You have a cloudy day. It's not going to work. So PG&E doesn't allow that, and actually so it only works if the power is if the grid is on. If the grid goes off, the solar projects cannot. They'll shut down. So and that's for safety too. So that's as far as the first question about the excise duty, that came out yesterday. President Trump decided to levy a 30% duty on solar panels. Of course, this has been going on for several months. We're still trying to, and it says that for the first 2.5 gigawatts, which is 2,500 megawatts, there will be no duty. We had factored in 15% duty. That's what we thought he'll come up with. But we don't know what the effect is. So when I said there are some things to be finalized, that's actually what I was thinking about. So we need to finalize that. There probably, I'm not sure if there'll be any impact, but it just happened yesterday. So within the next couple of weeks, we'll figure it out. And hopefully there'll be no impact on the pricing at all.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions from the board? Sergio Espinosa.
Yeah, so, Mr. Chair, I think what we're looking for is this direction from your board. If this is something that you find that we might be able to do or like more information on the finance part of it, we would like to go back and work with them some more and then come back to your board.
Well,
Okay, Supervisor De La Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is this the second or third meeting already you had?
This is the second meeting.
Second meeting.
Yeah.
Second meeting with the board, but we've had quite a few meetings internally.
Notwithstanding your guys' tons of meetings, you're at the board level now. This is about developing policies and providing directions. If we're going to move forward, I want to see some substance. I want to see a plan. I want to start doing things such as the financing the projects. I've seen this package twice already. I want to see some substance now, and so I guess if the board wants to go in any direction, I think let's move now. Let's work on it, because the longer we delay, the more cost savings we're losing.
Correct.
And so let's work on it.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm very supportive of this. In fact, I think we talked about this 5 or 6 years ago. Might have been longer. Supervisor De La Cruz remembers, I know, and I don't know if Supervisor Munzer does. But I kind of had the idea over there at Technology Drive and the sheriff's excess of land being utilized for solar, and seeing if we could kind of offset some of our costs. And I didn't think it gained any traction, but this is a far better project with substantial savings well into the future. And I certainly like to see this go forward. Yeah. Any other comments from the board? Supervisor Munzer?
If staff wants a motion, I would be happy to make a motion that we direct staff to proceed with the analysis of the proposal and legal review by county council, so as to provide a recommended course of action at the next board of supervisor meeting.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, we'll move on to item 40, CAO Espinoza.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. We have Louis Valdez, our management analyst, here to present this item. This is with regards to the resolution for support for the Pinnacles Gateway Partners.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, good morning. You have before you a resolution that we are asking the board to consider in support of the Pinnacles Gateway Partnership. This item was brought to the attention of the county by representatives of the city of Hollister. Mary Paxton from the development office is here, along with a couple of other individuals. They're going to provide you with a presentation of exactly what it is the partnership represents and what the specific request will be. I do want to make very clear that there is no financial support being requested. I believe there is a little history behind this item in that there was previously a request for funding of a part-time position. This particular resolution and this particular request does not include that request for funding. So I'd like to invite Mary up and her folks so that they can present this item, and I will fire up the PowerPoint for them.
Okay.
And hand over the floor to them.
Good morning, Chairman Botello and supervisors. I'd like to pass this off to our newly hired coordinator for the Pinnacles Gateway Partnership, Craig Kaufman. He's going to present you with a PowerPoint.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Craig Hoffman. I'm with the Salinas Valley Tourism and Visitors Bureau, and in this capacity, I'm also the project coordinator for the Pinnacles Gateway Partners. They retained me back in November, and I'm very proud to be associated with this group. They're just doing a yeoman's work in really looking at the gateway and the economic development that this region can provide through this new branding, basically being called for transitioning from a national monument over to a national park. And just from that branding change, we've already seen some lift with visitors and with attendance numbers. And so I'd like to share with you some of the things in the history that we've been providing for the Gateway Partners. In January 2013, Congress reclassified the Pinnacles National Monument to Pinnacles National Park. Former Congressman Sam Farr was integral in leading the way for this effort, which dramatically increased attendance and at this magnificent natural resource in the Salinas Valley and in San Benito County. Approximately 200,000 visitors came to the park in 2015. I would also say that in 2015 also we had $11.8 million in economic lift for the region, and in 2016 the economic lift increased to $12.6 million, an increase of $800,000 in 1 year. One concept that Congressman Farr promoted is in the reclassification was that the communities surrounding Pinnacles National Park would benefit economically from the change, and the numbers that I just mentioned bore that truth. Superintendent Karen Dorn has supported that effort by reaching out to surrounding towns, ranches, and Native American tribes members with the park. In March of 2015, I opened up the Soledad Visitors and Gateway Center. The city of Soledad approached me several years back with this idea of wanting to have something that would be able to retain visitors coming off of the freeway and seeking information about the park. And that has also bore economic lift as well. In 2016, we had 1,483 visitors, and in 2017, we're over 2,000 visitors. Just as a side note, anytime that you can pull a visitor off and have them gas up at your town, eat at your restaurant, they're on average going to spend about $400 in the region per day. So there's definitely some benefits in getting tourism and understanding why your point of destination is an important point of destination to come here. In King City, they formed a tourism group that held monthly meetings to create awareness of opportunities for businesses to provide services to travelers who were coming from the south heading to the west or east side of Pinnacles. Among the successes celebrated by the group were the Chevron station owner Larry Trevino installed a vinyl mural at the south end of town, and the creation of a welcome banner and sign for downtown, and a brochure describing local restaurants. The city of Hollister, on the east side, developed a theme welcoming travelers through their community. Pinnacle brochures are found at several airports and 237 locations throughout California, including the California Welcome Center system, which has 17 welcome centers throughout the state of California. And the Salinas Welcome Center does carry that particular brochure as well. So, to jumpstart the regional cooperation of gateway communities, Superintendent Karen Dorn requested planning and technical assistance from the Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Assistance Program of the National Park Service. At that time, Linda Stonier from the National Park Service was our first coordinator, and has been out of San Francisco and began working and organizing with the communities involved. The Pinnacles Partnership Group meets 6 times a year. So we just had our first meeting for this year. We had it on the west side of the Pinnacles, and it was a good, successful meeting. Our mission is really to guide and to work together as we develop our mission statement. And our mission statement is simply stated: Pinnacle Gateway Communities communicates and works together to protect resources, to inspire visitors, and to foster economic prosperity and community enrichment for the long-term stewardship of Pinnacles National Park and its gateways. So what are the benefits about working with our group? Well, first of all, it's important that we look at ourselves as a regional area. A tourist doesn't really know when they're moving from Santa Cruz County to Santa Clara County to San Benito County or Monterey County. A tourist just wants to experience the region as a whole. So we create a regional focus to promote both Pinnacles National Park and the surrounding communities for the benefit of increased tourism and community quality of life. Our meetings give us a forum to learn more about Pinnacles National Park and about each other and what things are going on. We're coming together to better appreciate the amazing national treasures we have in our region, and to better understand how we can collectively meet the challenges and opportunities that present to us. Our events get talked about at Pinnacles National Park meetings in the Salinas Valley and San Benito County as well. Think of it this way: we're a region that we are able to promote local economies. We can gather and build relationships, and at the same time also think about ways to protect the park. For all intent and purposes, the park is full. I mean, from a saturation point for both east and west side, we're at our maximum capacity. I don't think Karen wants any more people. But what we can be doing is creating how we can leverage that success story of the national park and have them stay in our towns so that there are other things to do. And that's really the goal of what we're trying to do, is really start to promote other activities so that when somebody goes for a day hike or stays overnight on the east side, that they're also thinking about what else they can be doing in the region as well. So the opportunities, we're dedicated to helping all of our gateway communities benefit from our regional relationship with the national park. And we definitely appreciate all the current members, and obviously having this resolution in support of us would go a long ways. Like I said, I am the new coordinator. They have hired and retained me, and I'm really excited about not only being able to market a national park, but also the economic lift that we can be generating for all our surrounding communities. So we invite you to share our vision and join us, sign the resolution of support, and I thank you for your time. I'll take any
Great, thank
questions.
you. Any questions from the board? No. If not, anybody from the public would like comment on this presentation? Seeing none, we'll... Oh, you do have a comment.
Craig Kaufman?
Yes.
Oh, that's us.
Yeah.
Mary told us to.
That's okay, Jen.
We'll get it right in the minutes. Okay. If not, I'll bring it back to the board for further discussion or a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to adopt resolution of support for the Pinnacles Gateway Partnerships.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll move on to the next item, 41.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This particular item, Supervisor Jaime de la Cruz actually talked a little bit about that during his opening, his Board of Supervisors remarks. And what we wanted to do is go ahead and ask your board to support supporting CSAC and with regards to SB1, and to make sure that these funds continue to be in our coffers or go to our coffers so we can address our roads within our county. And I'd like to go ahead and, just make sure that, pass that on to the board, Mr. Chair.
Right. Supervisor de la Cruz, you want to elaborate a little bit more, or?
Well, I think I had enough. I'm sorry, I apologize. I think I said enough, and I just restated again that it's important that we are behind this, because those individuals that are against SB1 are getting momentum as of today, and hopefully in the near future, the COG is going to take a sales tax to the public in November, and if the SB1 passes, or yet it is repealed, and I'll say it for the record right now, there's no way I can support a sales tax for November. So this is very important for our community, because if the public does shoot it down, I'm not going to take a sales tax road to the public in November, and also the fact that RCRC, CSAC, and other members of the community have actually asked the Board of Supervisors in all the 58 counties to not support this, or better yet, to oppose repealing SB1. It's very important that we continue that trend and show support of CSAC. Typically, CSAC does not get into political issues, but this has a major implication to the entire state of California. This is a mechanism that can provide funding for our roads. It's not enough. I too feel that San Benito County has gotten the short change of this SB1, but it's $2-3 million a year. I'm not willing to let that money go. I think it needs to stay here in San Benito County and stay in San Benito County, and that's the reason what I'm recommending to the board. We show a letter of support to opposition of SB1. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
any other comments from the board?
Mr. Chair, if I may just add a couple more comments, if it's okay with you, Mr. Chair. So, and to add to that, the state, I actually went to the CAO AC meeting this last week, or a week ago or so, and discussed we had actually a presentation by the state with regards to the state's budget, and there was actually an increase in sales tax, and there were some infusions of funding that they actually put to the IHSS, as well as additional funds in the SB1 area. So With that being said, we had calculations. Your board actually went through the process, did a study. Which roads are we going to do? We had different options, and it was about $660,000 or thereabouts. And we had an MOE of approximately $150,000 that we actually paid up. But the number looks to be significantly larger than that for this year, as well as the following year. So the SB1 funds that we'd be receiving are going to be actually a little bit more than what was anticipated with regards to the taxes. So it's a good thing for us because we can put a little bit more. We still need to do some more homework in regards to what the MOE would be, our maintenance of effort, if there is any change with that, if those numbers do increase. But anyways, I just wanted to make sure the board was aware that the numbers look like they're going to be greater than what we originally anticipated. Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Medina?
What were those numbers? I mean, I know I don't want to hold you to it.
Well, if you want, I have the numbers in my office. Give me a second. I'll pull them up right now. Yeah. And I can get that to you in a few minutes.
Well, I had the pleasure of driving around in District 2 yesterday with the RMA director and showing him our fine roads in District 2. And, even with the additional funds from SB1, our roads in our counties and our 2 cities are just crumbling. Just in the county, I think the last number we've had a report on was that it's about $40 million of needed maintenance countywide just to bring up the roads up to a reasonable standard that the public should expect. Fortunately, it costs money, and I completely agree with Supervisor De La Cruz that we really need to be out there supporting SB1 and hopefully educating the public that this is an investment of going to maintenance of a public asset, and it's time to go work on fixing these roads. It's not going to get cheaper, so I'm completely supportive of this action. Any other comments from the board? If not, I'll open it up for public. We got 2 public people speaking. That's good.
Barney Richmond again from Hollister. I guess I want to thank Supervisor De La Cruz for representing me on the phone call, whatever it was. I'm surprised to learn I'm the only person in the state of California who opposes SB1, since I guess I was the only person represented on the phone call. What I really resent about this conversation is miscasting this letter. The letter that you are being asked to sign has nothing to do with whether SB1 remains in effect or not. It's a change to the Constitution of the state of California. I would have hoped one of you would have read it. And that change is to get rid of the GAN limit for transportation. And the GAN limit, just to remind you, is the appropriations limit for transportation. So essentially, it has nothing to do with SB1. It's all baloney. This business of it kills SB1, it doesn't do a thing for SB1. It just, what it does is it means that the people in the legislature no longer have to worry about the accountability of these funds as concerning the GAN limit. And the GAN limit was put in there just because of Proposition 111, we gave the state of $1 billion, and what did they do with it? They said they were going to fix the roads. They didn't do it. And that's what keeps happening. We're giving them $1 billion in diesel funding, and they're not going to fix the road with it. They're taking that money, and they're doing other things with it. And they're doing mass transportation. And they're giving our senator $500 million for his personal transportation needs over in his county, and we're not getting anything. So yes, our people in San Benito County are going to pay $12 million on SB1, and they're going to get back maybe $3 million. And we're going to consider that a good deal. That's ridiculous. You're getting bird feed. You're taking away meals and you're getting back bird feed. You'd be much better off if SB1 went away and our people here locally approved a large tax to help our roads that we need. rather than giving them the money and having them give it to some senator from God knows where who's going to use it to put in a railroad train where he lives and say and tell his constituents, look what I got for you for my signature on SB1. So, the fix is in. This is simply legalized bribery, and the fact they can buy you off so cheap is the insult here, not the fact that they're buying you off. You're getting back almost nothing, and the commuters in this community are getting the shaft. Now, I'm not a commuter, so it's not hurting me in the pocketbook at all, but I think you ought to represent the people who live here and not Sacramento. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good morning, Board. Happy New Year. I haven't been here in a while. I appreciate Marty's compassion, very emotional. As a county resident, I also am not a commuter. I'm fortunate that I'm not a commuter, but I cycle a lot of the county roads. So basically we're talking about the majority of people that are on the road in a car. Cycling is even worse, and we're trying to just came up with a pinnacle and trying to say that let's get some tourism out here. Well, tourism to me, we've got great roads. We got great community for cycling, and we do need to fix the roads. However, I think that piggyback to what Marty was saying is that as the board, we need to be more assertive to protect our county residents. I think that we've had our day where we've been run over by so many corporations and by all these taxes, and we just get rolled over. And I think it's time we put our foot down and let's be more assertive and say no and fight for our rights, and let's keep some of this money here in this county. We're paying for it. We need to have that money come back. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Not, I'll bring it back to the board. I'll go first. I don't agree with the assumption that we're not getting our money's worth with SB1. We are, and we need this. The roads are crumbling. We can't go out and fix it on our own. A lot of the commuters buy gas in Gilroy or San Jose, and it's distributed throughout the whole state. We have a problem today, and this is what needs to be done. I'm sorry, I don't agree. So that's where I'm at. CAO Espinoza.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one other comment to this. As you recall, in I believe it was 2016, the people actually spoke with regards to them in our county, in our community, about taxing for roads, and they said no to COG and their initiative that they had. And I think in this point, there's legislation that's been passed. There is a percentage. And we don't know, actually, I just want to make it really clear with this particular item, we don't know if there is going to be somebody that's going to oppose this. There's nothing yet, but we're requesting that the board be in line with CSAC with regards to if this does happen, that we would be opposed to this, because the monies are there already, and we already have plans for these particular items. So, Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you,
Mr. Chair. Is there a time limit on when this letter needs to be submitted? And the reason I say that is because certainly, I think I take the comments that were made, for what they're worth. I think that there were some good comments as far as. There are some discrepancies between rural counties and the rest of the state. And I think what Senator Canella, the example that was highly publicized, is what's wrong with Sacramento.
No question about that.
It's wrong. And so just because 60% of that district is over the valley in his neighborhood, what happens to the other 40%, which is us over here? And so, but I think that there is a discrepancy between rural counties and the rest of the state. And so I think you got to let the data speak for itself. When you look at SB1 as a whole, the infrastructure issues, the transportation issues that we are faced, it's a crisis. But at the same time, certainly, do we as a rural county get our fair share from this deal? What does the data say? What do the numbers say? And so that's why I'm just curious to see what those numbers are. I know that we've been presented stuff by COG, and I'm not sure how long, if staff can put together something that basically says what, if we do become a self-help county later, do we have more benefit? Do we have more skin in the game at that point through SB1? I don't know. But certainly I think that, the comment that was made was we're going to be putting in so much as a community, but we're only going to be getting back peanuts. Does that really make sense? And so I think that we've got to weigh those numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So
thank you, Supervisor Rivas. Any comments, Supervisor De La Cruz?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, this doesn't have importance on it in terms of time frame. I do, however, I do believe that even if staff gets that information to us, this body will still need to make a decision on which way to go, for or against it, and it might actually be worthwhile to get the public educated on see what the dollars are, and I think that'll be worthwhile because then hopefully the public says, oh my God, yes, we're getting a lot less than what we output instead of income, or no, I think it might be fair. So yeah, I think it worthwhile. Let's hold off to the next meeting. And Ray, will you need at least a couple weeks?
Well, yeah, we'll probably need in February sometime. Again, as you see in the attachments, there is no resolution because there's nothing to really argue against. It's just a support letter.
Okay.
So that doesn't, we haven't submitted it yet because we haven't, we're kind of seeing how things would pan out. If something would happen or not, we weren't really sure. And we can hold off on that. It doesn't have to happen right now. We haven't. It hasn't officially happened yet, so there's no need to really. But we just wanted to make sure that the board was, aware of it, and I know that there was some requests from CSAC and the leadership there to move forward with it. But I don't think that there's really any major urgency. We can do some more homework and then come back to your board if you wish.
Perfect, Mr. Chair. Actually, in light of that information, coupled with the fact that Supervisor Rivas is now a member of the CSAC, and I'm the alternate. I think it's worthwhile for Supervisor Rivas, for us to take a step and allow him an opportunity as a member of CSAC to look at it and then come back with a recommendation to the board at the next meeting. I think it'll be a good idea. I'm good.
Yeah, that's no problem, Mr. Chair. I can work with staff if we need to have a conference call with the CSAC folks. We can do that.
Okay, we could continue this item to the next meeting.
We'll shoot for the next meeting.
Yeah. Make a motion to table this for a February meeting.
Okay. Have a motion. Second. Anyone?
Second.
I'll second it. What the heck? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Good. We'll move on to item 42.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, this particular item is out of our office administration. As we come before you every year, we go through the budget process, and one of these items that we have before you is with regards to the fire budget and a few items that they've submitted to us. I have Melinda Casillas here, our budget director, here to talk to you about this. Melinda?
Good morning. We received 2 invoices from the City of Hollister regarding repairs on fire vehicles. Per our contract, if the repairs total more than $10,000, the county is to pay the invoices. The total invoices amount to $38,346.74. I had put $30,000 in the budget for this particular issue. So I need an additional $8,346.74, which we can cover out of general expenses. So one, I was here to ask you for money to an exchange of money to cover that additional amount in the invoices. And then also we wanted to take the opportunity to ask the City of Hollister Fire Department to give us an update on service calls and the status of the contract.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and have the fire district report to you, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Morning, Chairman, Board of Supervisors. So I have with me today Battalion Chief Rod Dover, who's our fleet manager. He comes from private industry as a mechanic with a local industry out here that rhymes with Greenwood. And Greenwood, right? Yeah. Okay. And not making any plugs, but comes with a lot of experience. I'm going to let him go through the fleet management, and then I'll go ahead and do a quick chief's report for the last fiscal year or calendar year. Go ahead, Ron.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I believe in the $38,000, there was two particular repairs that I think have been brought to your attention. The first one was the Type 3 four-wheel drive vehicle. Repair, I believe, was 11 or 16. But anyways, that was the most of that damage or the repairs were needed after the floods in Lover's Lane. The Type 3 was utilized to rescue families that were trapped in their vehicles in the rising floodwaters. And unfortunately, the drive axles took some water damage, as the Type 3 in Santa Clara did also. We tried to recover some of that money through FEMA, but we were unsuccessful. So we tried to help out as much as we could and get the money and not have to put that in your laps. But unfortunately, we did not succeed. So we had to forward that one to you guys. The oil pump problem was the major catastrophe in that, and that actually had nothing to do with the floods. That was just a wear and tear maintenance item that caused a catastrophic failure. Okay. The second issue we've had is a $22,000 engine repair on engine 12, which is your main Type 1 that you use is the 2010 Ferrera. The issues we've been having there, obviously, as we were just talking about the county roads, has been steering components and steering boxes. They've been failing and going out. You know, we run Code 3 down into the south. Some of those runs are an hour plus. The roads are in really bad shape down there, and they're taking their toll on your apparatus. We've had multiple repairs on it. Like I said, this one was $22,000. And unfortunately, it exceeds the $10,000 the city's willing to pay. Over the last few years, I did do a report just for information. The city of Hollister, of course, is not dumping all the repairs on you in case that was any kind of a concern there. City of Hollister's done all the maintenance on the county fleet. We've done all the oil changes, tire changes, any high maintenance, high wear items, brakes, that type of stuff. And over the last 2 years, the city of Hollister has spent $52,000, almost $53,000 maintaining just the county fire equipment. So I think the city's done their duty, sharing the burden with you. So unfortunately, with those other two issues, we're here hoping you'll take care of that. Any questions?
Any questions from the board? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Okay. One more add, because you did say a future issue. Engine 12, the one it's got the high maintenance right now, the $22,000. I just got word at 9 o'clock this morning, because it's still in Oakdale doing some repairs. We've had some faults with basically the shut engine down now because of a crankcase pressure. We thought it was a bad sensor. It's turning out that we do have excessive crank pressure in this particular rig, which means the engine's going to require an in-frame overhaul. So there's a future repair coming your way. I would anticipate in the $30,000 range, probably in the next few months. So I just want to give you a heads up that that's coming also, and help you guys prepare for that. Any questions?
Any questions with that new information?
And unfortunately, I just got that at 9 o'clock this morning.
Okay. The question I have is that you got, 20-something thousand here and another 30,000. Now that's 50,000.
Yes. And that's just an estimate. That's just giving our best estimate on an in-frame overhaul. That's if there's nothing else discovered when they're doing the work.
So we're probably talking...
It could go up.
50 grand.
Yeah. And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but, the fleet apparatus age in the county is pretty excessive. Most rigs are 20 years older, pushing longer, and you guys are well aware of that. And the maintenance is not going to get cheaper going forward.
No, it's never cheaper.
No.
Is that something that we should be talking about before we allocate even fixing it, making this fix? Should we have our own... I don't know if we have any mechanics that could kind of take a look at it ourselves and evaluate,
you have any
especially this other new information that is being brought forward.
From a mechanic point of view, I know we have COG. I know they have diesel mechanics there. I'm not sure if John and RMA has the necessary mechanics for that, but we could probably discuss that at our next fire committee meeting or internal meetings to discuss, kind of apparatuses in the future from a county perspective. I think it'd be important. We can talk about the fire committee.
Okay. Thanks.
But I just as a suggestion, and this is, I think we probably need to continue to move forward with what we have, and whatever those costs are to keep the vehicles on the road, I think would be important. But we probably can talk about that some more.
Okay. Any other questions?
You could lead into your next presentation.
All right. You all got a copy of the chief's report. So the chief's report is the annual report through 2017, and real quick, it just highlights the accomplishments that the department has sustained over the year with the career development. You could briefly go through that. If there's anything in there that you'd like to discuss, I'd be glad to comment on it. One thing I do want to emphasize is the establishment of an arson task force, which is a combination of all three public safety organizations that has Hollister Fire Department, Hollister Police Department, and San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office. So for the arson task force, what my intent here was to get all three organizations to be able to do a comprehensive analysis on a fire, whether it was accidental or if there was actual crime behind it, because we're firefighters and we can understand fire behavior and we can put fires out. We're not really good with doing interrogations or investigations as far as speaking with a criminal element. So I wanted to incorporate a law enforcement ability in there, a law enforcement element in there. And the city of Hollister, the Hollister Fire Department, is paying for the training, is seeking the training. And we've collaborated with not ATF, but Department of Justice, UNET. We've collaborated with Santa Clara County's Arson Task Force, San Benito County's or Monterey County's Arson Task Force. So if something significant happens, we have them coming into the community and then helping us out. And then in turn, we'll send our representatives to their communities so we can help them out also. And the big concern is the up-and-coming potential commercial industry that we have coming into our community. In the event that there's illegal grows, which we've already sustained 2 structure fires and a couple of injuries pertaining to that, the industry itself is going to be a commercial industry, and it's going to do as well as we think it is or not. But the illegal component to it is something that I'm really concerned about, because you're talking about high volatile, flammable liquids, gases, so they can do this product. This arson task force, along with UNET, is going to provide us that support we need, so we can go ahead and enforce the policies and regulations behind it. You already got your apparatus report. Moving on, you already got your apparatus report. I'm sorry, is there any questions on the career development as far as that's concerned and what I emphasized?
Any questions? Seeing none, you
okay.
Continue, Chief. Thank you.
The app, yes, sir.
One thing, this may not be the appropriate time to ask it, but I know I've been very active in the opioid, the task force that's being created here. And one thing that's been of emphasis is this Narcan.
Yes.
And so I know the schools, Samuel High schools, received the Narcan, and certain staff members are getting trained.
Right.
And I know fire is always on the scene first.
Yes.
Are you guys being trained in Narcan, or do you guys have that available?
That discussion is being brought to the department. I personally, coming from an ALS department in Watsonville, am an advocate for it. I will foster it coming into the department and the jurisdiction. If it comes into our jurisdiction, it's going to be countywide. So I think there might be a little bit of reluctance with law enforcement, only because the aftercare after providing that particular opiate countermeasure, what happens is the patient gains consciousness, and there's no telling how they're going to react medically. We can deal with that, but law enforcement might not be able to.
Are EMTs able to administer?
Yes, we absolutely are. Yeah, with the proper training, it's not really an advanced. It's a matter of providing the
then
drug.
It just becomes a safety issue then.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Because once they gain consciousness, then they need to be restrained or not, depending on their condition.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea. There's the survivability behind it brings it up over 50% for an individual. I've seen it in Watsonville when I worked there, and it absolutely does work.
Okay.
It does have its place.
Cool. I was just curious because I know that at the previous meeting they were talking about agencies that have jumped on board, and I don't recall if Hollister Fire was mentioned. That's why.
If San Benito County's EMS is an advocate for it, it's being top down driven from the state to us. So we're embracing it.
All right, awesome.
Absolutely. You already received your apparatus report from Chief Dover. And the chief's report, this one's the meat and potatoes of the entire report for the community. So if you look at the breakdown by station, we do it by district. District 1, or overall you had 4,049 calls. District 1 had
Chief, why don't you, for the benefit of the public and the rest of the board, describe each district and the area?
Absolutely.
As you go down that.
Absolutely. So District 1 is the downtown district, mainly within the parameters of the city of Hollister. We're in District 1 right now. District 2 is the southern end of the city and the county. That's your District 2, and it goes as far down as County Line, Coalinga, all that area. District 3 is from Meridian all the way up to Santa Clara County Line, and then District 4 is the west side of the county. I'm glad you brought that up. If you look at the amount of fires that we sustained in District 3, where we're proposed to have Station 3, you have the most fires there, and that's because not only are we taking care of our own local jurisdiction, but we also help out Santa Clara County, and in turn, they help us out with a mutual aid auto aid agreement. And lately, it's been to the point where they've come to us a lot more often than we've come to them. It's unfortunate, though, that District 3 is being attended to by firefighters that are deploying out of the District 1, the Hollister Fire Station 1 area, and it has a lag time of about an additional 5 minutes just to get into the district and then to do the work. But if you look at the numbers, we're looking at 1,486 numbers, or 1,486 calls in District 1. District 2 is sustaining 1,306 calls. District 3 has 739. Most of those are being fires, and probably agricultural fires to boot. District 4 has 518, which is the west side of the county. Any questions on that?
Any questions? See none.
Okay.
Continue on.
And then strength management, that's your overall personnel authorized, assigned, troops working out of class, and overtime vacancies. If no questions on that, I'll go ahead and move on to the operations section. So through our operations section, what we've done is determined what is needed as far as services concerned within the local jurisdiction. And what we've seen is we're having to go to a lot of over-the-edge vehicle accidents. We've done a body recovery over the edge, assisting Federal Bureau of Investigations and DOJ. So we've implemented low-angle rope rescue operations, which is going to be a requirement for anybody that's going to work on the truck apparatus that we have at Station 1. We've got off-road driving courses, and we've got an in-house instructor that can train other firefighters along with other agencies. That right there, I take personally, because the more driving time you have, the safer you're going to be on the road, and a lot more confident you're going to be going on strike team deployments. And of course, CPR recertification, hazmat, bloodborne pathogens, all the way out to auto extrication, which is almost on a daily occurrence, going to vehicle accidents. and the PBS contract for the south construction project. In the bottom right here, we have the Office of Emergency Service Master Mutual Aid Response Plan. So what I've done was I contacted the state. Over the last year, we've sustained or we've responded to 3 state emergencies, and then I myself, with the military, responded to a national emergency on the East Coast. And I've seen the value in the Office of Emergency Services with California State, and I'm going to request the city to give me authorization to participate in the apparatus assignee program. So what that is I justify a request asking for them to give us any type apparatus, either a Type 3 like the one that's failing the county right now, or a Type 1 that does structure fires, or even a rescue vehicle. The guarantee is we get that vehicle, we use it for greater alarm emergencies, either a structure fire or multiple structure fires. We can deploy it out of Station 2 or Station 1. If any of our vehicles go out of service for maintenance, we can put it first line. Or if the state needs us to respond to another fire in Sonoma or in Ventura County or the mudslides, we would deploy it. Any injury or any damage that it sustains, the state pays for it up to $100. So everything that, any kind of repair and maintenance that needs to be done to it, the city of Hollister will pay up to $100. Anything more than $100, the state picks up the tab. The state also picks up the tab for the staffing. The state also picks up the tab for the professional services that support the staffing, so getting them paid, making sure they got insurance, making sure they're getting trained. And it's in all actually a good program, and I think it's about time that we participate in it. We haven't in the past because we didn't really have the staffing, or we weren't being requested. Now that this department is being recognized as a resource for the state regionally, we've been asked to do an OES strike team assignment. We did it last year for the Tubbs fire up in Sonoma, and it worked out great. Gave them support, and I just got an email today saying turn in that document so we can review it, and we'll get an answer by April for the next fire season. So that concludes the chief's report. If you've got any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them.
Okay. Any questions from the board? No. Any comments from the public? Seeing none. Thank you, Chief, for taking the time today and
You're welcome.
coming in and giving our report. Do we need to authorize the repair?
Yeah, the items that are listed, that's the request that we're asking you to do. But the future items, I think the larger items, and the request of the board, I've asked Louis to contact COG and look at their diesel mechanics just to take a look at it to see if there's some possibility we can save some money. But we'll definitely get back to the facility committee members on that. And then if we need to come back to the board, we will come back to the board.
Okay. All right. So that will probably come back at the next meeting. Okay. Thank you.
The larger items that are not listed, or the other items that were not listed. That's
right. Okay.
Move to approve. I move to approve 2 invoices from the City of Hollister related to repairs in our fire engines. Invoices totaling $38,000, which exceeds our budget by $8,347.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Hearing none.
Okay,
Very good.
thank you.
We'll move on to our last item on the regular agenda. CEO.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. This particular item, I believe, came from Supervisor Robert Rivas. He had requested to put this
Yeah,
item
so
on
what
the-
it was I know myself and I believe Councilmember Clower were asked to bring this to our respective boards. And so basically what it is Samuel High School District has requested a letter of support for a program in which they're trying to leverage some funding. It's called the New Markets Tax Credit Program, and it's a financing program created by the federal government to encourage investment in certain qualified census tracts that have been identified as a result of their high poverty or unemployment rates or the relatively low residential medium incomes. And so the Samuel High School is trying to leverage this program and financing through this program for their aquatic center, which is a significant need in our community. And So the letter was included in the board packet, and so they're just looking for this letter from our board to include in their packet. I'm not sure if the city of Hollister has acted on this request, but I anticipate that they will, and I know that they've sent these similar requests to Congressman Panetta, Assemblywoman Caballero, and I'm assuming Senator Canella.
Great.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
CAO.
Any questions from the board? I'll open it up for the public to comment. Did you have any questions on the letter? No? Okay. Thank you.
I owe you a slip. I'm sorry. Marty Richmond from Hollister. I do support this program, and the reason is we have a unique problem here that gets us left out of many of these programs, and that is our poverty is pocketed. In other words, what we have is at the state legislature, people look at the average or the median income in San Benito County, and they go, well, you're not poor enough to get any help from us. And you're not rich enough, they don't say that, but you're not rich enough to handle it on your own. But that's the truth. And the reason is that our poverty areas are in many distinct pockets that are restricted. They typically have some higher density than the general county and the other areas. It's just like you can find poor people in the richest towns in the nation. And when that happens, what happens is they get overlooked, and their needs often get overlooked the further you get away from the problem. So I'm in support of these programs because they help identify specific needs in specific areas. And that's basically the only way these kind of analysis and programs brought the attention, being forced onto the state and forced onto the people who make these decisions, are the only way you get the help you need. And that's why in many cases, I know it's not publicized, but in many cases, people say in private, well, you don't need anything down there. We've looked at your average or your median income, and you're doing fine, okay? But the truth of the matter is some people are doing okay, some people are doing very well, and some people are not doing well at all. And unfortunately, when the prices go up, the people who aren't doing well at all are the ones in the big squeeze. So, as I like to call it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good morning. I, too, support this. Taking advantage of the fact that we have poverty in this, I would also somehow would like to recommend how can we do a campaign that we reach out to those people that are in poverty, because I can see that it'll be used, but it won't be used by those people who you're using the income to get this money. So I would like those somehow. This is a great program, but I want somehow some kind of a campaign to reach out to those children who I know don't participate. As a child from migrant workers, my parents didn't know anything about involving us kids in any kind of activities. So there's got to be some kind of a program that we can do, Robert, through the high school, through the schools, to reach out to make sure that those kids, those minority kids that we're using the poverty level to get this funds from, that they also use this facility. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing no further public comment, I'll bring it back to the board for a discussion or a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval of a letter of support for Semi High School and their application to be part of the New Markets Tax Credit Program for the development of an aquatic center and new recreational facilities.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. County Council will go on to a closed session.
Mr. Chair,
I'm sorry.
may add
Ray.
one more thing before we go to closed session. There's a couple things. One is I just wanted to publicly thank Dina Bias for all of her work. She's been a great employee, and she's going to be moving on in the near future. So we have a little bit of cake in the back when we go through closed session. Just want to make sure the board stays for that and has some cake. The other item I didn't get back to you, Supervisor Medina. I think during our item we'll go ahead and present the estimated county tax SB1 numbers, and I'll give you accurate numbers at that time. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks. County Council.
Number 44, closed session, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to subdivision D2E2 of Government Code Section 54956.9, number of cases 1, facts and circumstances justifying the closed session as a request to enter a tolling agreement. 45, closed session, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, subdivisions A and D1 of 54956.9, name of case is Del Real versus County of San Benito, U.S. District Court for Northern District of California, case number 517 CV 06859 NC. Number 46, closed session, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to 54956.9, number of cases 2, authorized by subdivisions D2 and E1 of that same section. Section of number 47, closed session, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation pursuant to subdivision D4 of 54956.9, number of cases 2, and closed session, conference with legal counsel, subdivisions A and D1 of section 54956.9, name of case Edward Salcido, Superior Court of California, County of San Benito, case number SC 17-00350.
Okay. We'll reconvene. Is there any public comment of any of these items? Seeing none, we'll adjourn to closed session.